You have lost yourself to madness.
I changed career paths.
She put hashtag and learning fatphobia in her caption. If you want to be a fat ally, fine, but let's not lie 4 points with fat activist. No one told you, you let yourself go. This is virtue signaling.
If somebody calls your dog fat, does that feel like an insult? This is a gut check to help you understand that fat phobia is still very much present in the dog world. If somebody calls your dog fat, does that feel like a neutral term? Or do you feel like you need to defend your dog and your actions as the owner? Do you feel blame or shame around somebody's perception that your dog is fat? If somebody called your dog fat, would that make you rethink how you're doing things with your dog? Maybe giving them more exercise or less food, or tucking their fur under their collar so they don't look like they have rolls. Would you feel the need to explain why your dog might look fat, but they're not really? Do you hold the belief that fat bodies are inherently less healthy and less desirable than thin bodies? Maybe it's time to start thinking about how fat phobia shows up in your relationship with your dog.
Not you again. Never have I had legitimate hate for a fat activist until you, not even Marissa, and she's horrible. I have no respect to anyone who understands the harm of their actions, and remain willing to cause harm to the vulnerable. Your dog is your responsibility, and your attitudes about canine obesity disgust me, and so do you. Your dog doesn't understand body stigma. If you called your obese dog a fatty fat ass in a squeaky voice, that's not going to result in stress and a declining health. Yeah, know what will though? Obesity. I will link this article by veterinarian below, but to summarize, obesity in dogs, much like humans, is linked to osteoarthritis, hypertension, certain cancers, diabetes, respiratory disorders, renal dysfunction, and many other conditions. For the love of God, do not overfeed your dog.
You know what's fun about hate comments? Well, okay, one, I think people think that they're like really doing something and that I care about the internet, when I'm here to tell you I don't. What's also fun about hate comments is that it brings my engagement up, so keep it.
Where was the hate? I really don't see it. Excess adiposity increases your risk for disease, just like smoking. If I tell you smoking isn't healthy, am I hating?
Could you imagine seeing like anybody like me there? Like me. No. Which I've come to be okay with because I like people with personalities. But isn't it odd how the gay community prides itself on inclusivity and acceptance when it excludes and does not accept so many of its members? And all of that exclusivity and rejection is justified because some gay people just don't look as good as others. Doesn't seem right, if you ask me.
I've been sitting on this video for a while because it gave me this itch that I couldn't quite scratch. Then I figured out why it made me feel so weird. Because what you said was so fucking stupid. You're complaining because there's no fat people there? Who fucking cares? Did they say anything about fat people in the original video? Nope. Did they insult you in particular in that video? Nope. It's just a bunch of fit dudes attempting to dance. There was no need to make things about you. From one gay to another, find a hobby, or go get some bitches, Jesus Christ.
I am developing a strong and visceral hatred for thin people on this app. It is starting to drive me crazy. It's like every single time a trend where skinny people are just demonizing fat people fucking dies, we find a new one. There's always a new one. Because good lord, they can't even breathe for 1 minute. The new one.
Virtue signaling aside, girl, you are thin people. Comments like these at your own expense to please fat activists can't be good for your self-esteem.
We're thick.
I'm sorry, but there's a big difference between being thick and being obese.
This just screams to me honestly like someone who has gone through the same body dysmorphia issues, has gotten past them, but is still haunted by them. Because every time he sees someone that is a body type that he used to see, he gets scared and mad because he doesn't want to go back to that. Imagine lifting all that weight and making all that progress, but you still can't make any progress with your personality. You focus so hard working externally on yourself that you forgot to work internally towards yourself. So the only thing that you carry is a strong exterior, when on the inside you're just scared. So you know what needs to stop? Is you sticking your nose into people's businesses where your opinion is not warranted or needed. Just take a moment to really think about that. Because someone like you could have done so much more, could be providing so much more positivity, as opposed to degrading and putting people down, which creates the opposite effect of the goal that you're trying to accomplish. Wake up.
You're so sassy. Let's think for a minute. Maybe he's saying something that is correct, and he's not taking out his own insecurities on Tess Holiday. Maybe, just maybe, calling obese people thick or curvy is doing them no good, and that's the truth, whether or not the creator of the original video is dealing with severe body dysmorphia.
Slow songs, they for skinny hoes. Can't move all of this here to one of those. I'm a thick bitch, I need tempo. Fuck it up to the tempo. Pity pat, pity pat, pity pity pat. Look at my ass, it's 50 fat. Kitty cat, kitty cat, kitty kitty cat. Pour me a glass, boy, I like my water wet.
Stop dancing for a second and check out these facts. The BMI system was created in 1832 by Adolphe Quetelet. The system of eugenics was created by Sir Francis Galton. All you need to know is that in 1832, Sir Francis Galton was 10 years old. Do I need to explain the gaping error in your video, or do you see it?
Pull up in it.
Bro, this shit fucking hurt. It always hurts me when I see a black person being fat phobic. It just crushes me. Especially because one of the origins of fat phobia was literally racism. Prior to the Atlantic slave trade, Europeans actually found plushy, chubby to fat women extremely desirable and as a sign of health, whereas people who were thinner were sick and weird, specifically ugly. But during the Atlantic slave trade, many Europeans realized that many African enslaved folk shared similar proportionate chubby to fat sizes that they considered desirable, specifically black women. So in a desperate attempt to essentially perpetuate racial inferiority, they decided to just switch up the whole narrative and use science to back it up. This is what I mean when I say it's never been about health. Also, I'm reading this book called Fearing the Black Body, where Sabrina Strings goes into detail about this, using multiple historical references. It's really good. I beg, please stop with the fat phobia.
The thing about fat activists is you can always count on them to make up a good story. Europeans thought being fat was bad way before the transatlantic slave trade. Nearly 2,000 years before the transatlantic slave trade, ancient Greek physician Hippocrates associated obesity with poor health outcomes. This view extended to later ancient Greco-Roman physicians such as Aulus Cornelius Celsus, Dioscorides Pedanius, Soranus of Ephesus, Oribasius, and many others, all of which mentioned carrying excessive weight in their writings, none of which associated it with anything positive aside from riches.